Hey everyone, welcome to CBT Live, day number 2. It is Tuesday, August 25th. I'm Jim Fitzpatrick. I'm joined by my partner, Bridget Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us. Yesterday, Bridget, was a huge success.
It was. We've gotten so much feedback over the last 24 hours. It's been great. So thank you to everybody that is watching, and all of the feedback is so important and appreciated.
It really is. It really is. You know, we said yesterday that we've been 14 years in business and over 7,000 interviews with dealers and automotive executives. But this is the first time that we are live, and we're loving it. It's great.
Right. And we're still having fun with all of these interviews. I always say we're going to, as long as we're having fun with it, we're going to keep on doing it. Yeah.
And we should add that, you know, we currently produce about 12 different shows on the CBT Automotive Network, all hosted by many of the subject matter experts, trainers, and coaches that are in the retail automotive industry, some of which we are showing, but nevertheless, you know, we're so happy to be on live. I mean, it makes it right up to the minute. We can talk about stories that are happening today, and there are a lot of stories happening today.
There are a lot of stories happening today, and I want to get into those. But one thing I want to mention is that from day one, for the last almost 14 years, we have been dealer focused, and I'm talking about retail automotive. We're talking about everything that we do here at CBT News. We want to help a dealer service or sell more cars. So that's been our main focus since day one, and it will continue to be.
That's right. Yes. That's so true. You know, we saw the other not other marketing companies, but other media platforms out there that served the OEMs and the suppliers, and you and I would talk about that, and yeah, I think that we've hit our mark, you know, and a lot of people, we thank so many people that have been on over the last 14 years.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been incredible.
So, before we get into the stories today, I would like to thank our sponsor, CDK Global, who has been a partner for all of those years. So thank you, CDK Global. With a built-in CDP AI-powered workflows and a connected platform, CDK helps dealerships put their data to work.
That's right. And they have been a great partner. Wow.
Yes,
I mean, almost really since the get-go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
All right, so big news today, and it's actually been big news for a little while. It's kind of a fluid situation with the Canadian tariffs. Now, Trump threatens 50% tariffs on Canadian autos, threatening 50% tariff on cars, trucks, and auto parts beginning January 1st. Now, that's double the current 25% tariff.
And why are we doing that again? Just when we thought it was safe to get back in the water, and all of a sudden Trump is now throwing more tariffs, and we thought that we were going to be coming to some kind of an agreement with Canada that we could all live with. Those talks broke down, obviously, and now it looks like we're back with 50% tariffs.
Yeah, it's crazy. Only just a few days ago we were talking about 15%. So this is just
that's right. It's very unfortunate too, because like the auto industry doesn't need one more sock in the in the jaw on all of this.
I know.
Right?
I know. So we're watching that closely here at CBT News.
That's right.
Covering that for you all. So
it's not like there aren't other things he could focus on, you know?
Right.
In the world going on.
Right. I know.
That's right. I think we have a war going on in the Middle East.
Yes.
So.
In other news, Toyota is closing in on GM. It's getting surprisingly close to GM in the race for the U.S. sales crown. Through July, Toyota and GM had each sold roughly 1.5 million vehicles in the U.S. So this is interesting. Toyota's benefiting from strong hybrid demand, while GM continues to lean heavily into profitable trucks and SUVs.
That's right. That's right. Now you know firsthand that I'm a Toyota guy. So
yes, your early days.
My early days as a Toyota dealer and working with Toyota and managing Toyota dealerships. I love the brand. I love the product. They do such an incredible job. Yeah. And it's not a surprise, but it's amazing.
And does GM really care if they're profitable and making more money? If that's the case, who's first or second?
Yes,
okay, they do.
They very much do. The dealers do. The OEM executives do. You know, everybody's watching this for sure. It also comes at a time that, you know, there's a lot of talk about Chinese vehicles, right?
That's right.
And them, you know, if they allow Chinese vehicles in, that everybody's so afraid that, oh my gosh, it's going to decimate the, you know, all of the domestics here, and they're going to be number one. And so, yeah, this comes at a unique time when you've got a Japanese company that take the number one spot in the U.S.
Yeah, when you're having those conversations about the Chinese vehicles coming in, you do talk a lot about how Toyota came in so many years ago and how they were regulated and how it worked.
Yeah, they only allowed a few 100,000 vehicles in, and then it grew over time. You know, now obviously for those of you that want to send me a text message and say, well, Japan isn't the same as China. I get it. I know that. It's a different situation. However, I don't know. We'll have to see.
But keep those text messages coming. They're fun.
I think everybody knows my take on Chinese vehicles, right? Certainly, I've had a very brisk, a very colorful discussion with Senator Bernie Moreno, who's a good friend of ours, and he's an awesome guy. Yeah. And of course, he's trying to shut it down so that you know the Chinese can't come into this country. You know,
we'll see.
Maybe just a couple 100,000. That's all.
I know.
You know.
Yeah, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
that's right. What else we got?
So this pertains to the majority of our subscribers at CBT News. This is talking about retail automotive, and out of roughly 18,000 franchised new car dealerships in the United States, most dealership owners still operate only a handful of stores. 90% of dealership owners operate 1 to 5 stores.
Yeah, and that's an interesting number because I think a lot of people, the publicly traded companies, the big, huge conglomerates out there, the Rick Hendrick of the world, and the others get a lot of attention. You know, they kind of suck the air out of the room. But in reality, the smaller franchise dealers out there really make up, obviously, the vast majority of the industry, 92%. Yeah. And but man, those big dealer groups get all the attention, don't they? The Penske's of the world, and AutoNation and Lithia and all of the they're buying up stores. The consolidation continues for sure, but they got a long way to go. Yeah.
And also a generational shift may be coming. The average dealer principal is estimated to be around 70 years old. This is from a Baker Tilly study. So
that sounds right. Yep. That sounds right.
That's why we're seeing a lot of M&A activity right now.
Yes, good point. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are, they're going into their 70s, and they're if they don't have kids that want to take over the operation, it's a perfect time for them to say, okay, maybe this is the time for us to step out, sell the dealership.
For sure.
And speaking of selling the dealership, my gosh, $1.3 billion for a family dealership here in Atlanta, and it was only 10 stores. Right. So $1.3 billion, and just incredible. And of course, the Kerrigans at Kerrigan Advisors handle that. Also another great client of ours, but there's so many great advisory companies out there that help dealers.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So are automakers giving customers too much technology? This is a J.D. Power study. Their latest technology study has an interesting takeaway that more technology doesn't necessarily mean happier customers. Relatively simple features like smart ignition and smart climate control scored well because they're easy to understand and easy to use, but some of the more complicated technology like hands-free driving and passenger screens didn't perform as well in this study from J.D. Power. Yeah.
You don't like when I hands-free drive, which I drive with my knee, and I can talk on the phone, and I can also hold a cup of coffee. It freaks you out.
You actually can't. You think you can, but you can't.
I do a really good job of that. You don't know. When you're not in the car, I'm driving with the knee.
Very scary thought.
This is a terrible thing to say on air.
I'm not in the car. I don't know how you get anywhere.
That is so true, right? I don't know how I get anywhere either. I don't know how I get anywhere in life without you, actually.
This is true.
Yes, this is true. You married guys know what I'm talking about. Right?
So we have got a great show coming up today. We've got Jeremy Robb, Chief Economist at Cox Automotive, and Ryan Rohrman, CEO of Rohrman Automotive Group.
Yes, another major mover and shaker in the industry. Ryan's doing some really cool things. Yeah, no question. I'm looking forward to both of those discussions. As you know, we've got a very good, close relationship with Jay Abraham here at CBT News and our sister channel, ASBN.com. For those of you that aren't aware, we have ASBN.com, stands for America's Small Business Network. That's the platform that we met Jay Abraham on, and just an incredible human being, one of the world's leading minds in business, an incredible business coach. He has added billions of dollars to the bottom line of so many companies and industries worldwide.
He is a genius marketer.
There's no question about it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that. That's a perfect segue into the clip that we're going to show. I had the opportunity to sit down with him here in our studios in Atlanta. He was nice enough to join me in the studio, and he lives in California, as you know. And but what we talked about was the difference and the importance of spending the right amount of money on certain leads. Some make more money than others, and we've known that in the industry. But I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this particular clip. So let's run that clip now. Check it out.
Well, both of those are either spending too much or spending too little, and spending is literally speculating. Investing is utilizing capital for a highly predictable return that you know what you're after. But since all leads aren't worth the same, all types, all sources aren't worth the same. If you spend the same amount for everybody, it's very inefficient because one category of lead might be, might gross you $10,000 profit. Another might be 1,000. But if you're allocating the same amount for all of them, it makes no sense.
Right.
I look at what you're doing in each category of your business, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and most importantly, how it is doing.
Right.
And I interrogate in a very benevolent way to find underperformance. And underperformance is only recognized when you compare it to what is possible. I mean, if you look at performance compared to what everyone else does, because they pretty much do it the same way,
right,
that is an erroneous judgmental criteria. Because when you come from a world like I have, where you've looked at 1,000 industries and you've seen how many different ways people can target an audience, how many different ways they can attract people, how many different ways they can dominate positioning, how many different ways they can convert a prospect to a buyer, how many different ways they can upgrade a single buyer to far more product services, how many ways you can keep them in the loop and bring them back. We have 125 ways, as an example, for generating high quality, high convertive, high profitable referrals. None of them cost anything, and yet most businesses, and I would imagine dealerships, they're probably the default is saying, "Hey, we'll give you $200 if you refer anybody." Well, that's the least yielding.
Yeah.
And almost none of them have a formal, systemized referral generating process, even though a referral generated buyer, first of all, is the ultimate.
That's right.
They negotiate less.
That's right.
They buy sooner. They buy more. They're more enjoyable to deal with.
Better reviews.
Better reviews.
Higher CSI scores.
It's right. They cost you nothing, and they refer more people. And yet most people don't even understand. You have 125 ways you could get more of them.
Right.
And yet you're spending all your money spending and speculating on people that are going to be very, very,
right.
They're going to be like that, and you're going to have to work so much harder, and the yield you're going to get is so much less.
Right.
But it's just, I'm very super logical. And I look at everything. I mean, you know of a couple of the dealers I've helped.
Yeah, of course, Brian Benstock.
I've helped Brian Benstock.
Yeah,
and one was in the service. We
also
also,
industry that doesn't know Brian Benstock.
Yeah. Well,
Jay Abraham is awesome.
He really is.
There's no question. I love watching him. The guy is just a fountain of great information and content. And as I said, he's added billions of dollars to companies worldwide. And you can see him there on the stage with Tony Robbins, which is really cool. And of course, with Damon John as well. He's just one of those guys. In fact, Tony Robbins gives him 4 hours on the stage when Tony does those 4-day events. He just came off of one of those, and he just knocks the cover off.
And he's just an all-around nice guy too. We've become friends with him, and he's just a good human being.
This is something you're going to be hearing a lot more about because he is. We feel passionate and strong about what he can do for the retail automotive industry here at CBT News. We're so happy to introduce him into the automotive community because his teachings and his principles will make dealers a whole lot of money. They really are. So we're excited about that.
Yes.
So if you're watching, Jay, thank you for all your great participation and content.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's get to our first interview. As we mentioned earlier, Canada is preparing retaliatory tariffs as trade tensions with the U.S. escalate, and that could have a real impact on the North American auto industry.
That's right. So there's a lot to unpack here. So we've brought in someone who's watched what's happening with the economy every day. We're joined by Jeremy Robb, who's the chief economist at Cox Automotive. Thanks so much, Jeremy, for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's great to be here and talk about all the things in the economy and the automotive industry. There is a lot we could go on forever.
That's right. That's right. I was going to say, you must be a very busy young man these days. You're probably being pulled in so many different directions to speak to the media and the dealer community about all that we hear coming out of D.C. and Trump's camp with tariffs. So how big a deal is this for automakers and dealers and consumers?
It's a big deal. There's no way around it. The uncertainty, I think I heard you guys talking a little bit before, the uncertainty around all of it is really, I think, one of the biggest things. We thought we were getting to a little bit better of a deal, maybe 15%. Now we're back to 50%.
Yeah.
Some of the top models that are sold really to consumers in the U.S., like the RAV4, the CR-V, the Honda Civic, those, a lot of those are produced up in Canada. That could increase costs at a time when consumers don't need increased cost, overall.
That's
It is
right.
a front and center problem for so many consumers and has been for a long period of time. And I worked for an OEM before I came to Cox. The planning cycles for building and production and making and just all that goes into planning a new model
Sure.
takes some certainty and knowing what's going on. And so this is really just, I think, driving a wedge into a lot of OEMs' product planning cycles too.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. And beyond the tariffs, we're also watching interest rates, gas prices, consumer spending, and a $40 trillion U.S. debt load. How concerned should dealers be about what's happening in the broader economy?
Yeah, I think there's reason to be a little bit concerned, but we also are still seeing, even right now through mid-August, pretty good sales trends in new and used retail sales. Back in June and July, we saw that new sales were running a little bit better than maybe used. And now in the first couple of weeks of August, we've seen used start to come back some. So the auto market, it's just so resilient, and consumers are always needing more cars out there. And we've still got a lot of consumers that have sat on the sidelines and not replaced their car, whether that's a new car or a used car, right? And you get those expensive repair bills. We've just did a study with a third party about, what type of expense would it take to get you to consider purchasing a new car versus repairing. So interest rates are up a little bit. On the used car side, we haven't seen them go up as much as we have on new. We've seen them rise a little bit on the new car side, but just economy wise, there is some concern out there, and especially the volatility we've seen in response to the U.S. crossing the $40 trillion market with debt and interest rates. It's front and center. It's over all the news.
Yeah.
What does that translate into dealers? We have to try to do that every day through all different ways that we can and telling people what's going on.
Yeah.
But the macro doesn't always affect the micro.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. It still amazes me. We reported yesterday that STAR looks like it's 16.3, 16.4 million. Even in light of all of this, it's not that bad, right?
No, I would say it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. There's a number of dealers that would agree with you on that, which is still surprising to me. We've seen it all in the industry over the years, and recessions and COVID and all kinds of things, chip shortages and everything else, and the dealers just keep coming back, and the OEMs working with their dealers, and it just is fascinating to me as to how many new vehicles can be sold, and of course, needless to say, how many used. So when you look at today's car buyer and how big the gap is between the consumer who can easily afford a new vehicle and the one who's really being squeezed in all of this. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the price of the vehicle itself gets a lot of press.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a big number. The average new car price is almost $50,000. The average used 3-year-old vehicle can be somewhere around $30,000.
Yeah.
Those are big numbers. But the math actually tells you that the rate of increase in the prices of the actual vehicles has not kept up with inflation over the last few years. Now, a lot of people probably hear that or see that, scratch their head, and might look at you funny, but it's true. But the other thing is that the cost of insurance has gone way up. The cost of repairing and maintaining your car has gone way up.
That's right.
And so there are other costs that are feeding into owning and operating a vehicle that have made it much more expensive over the last several years.
Yeah.
Now, what we're seeing some this year is, no one expected us to go into the Middle East and stay there for so long. And so we've had these higher gas prices come through really the end of February now, earlier in the year, we saw the biggest tax refunds ever for consumers. And so consumers had that money and that cushion to get through and to keep buying vehicles and other things. Well, starting in, July, when we started to see this price of gas come up, and even as of today, I think it's $4.10 nationwide.
That's
so,
right.
It's still sitting above the $4 amount. Consumers don't have that extra cushion anymore. And so this is where we start to worry a little bit more the longer this goes on right now, that we could see a little bit of a detrimental effect to consumers that aren't as well off as other consumers. But a lot of consumers, out there, quite a few of them have high incomes, and they're having this really high wealth effect from a strong stock market. And I think that is one of the things that's really helping to power new car sales this year.
Yeah.
And interest rates are a big part of all of this too. Where are we right now with new and used vehicle rates, and how much are those payments changing the buying decision?
Yeah, it takes quite a bit for the rate itself to move the needle for a consumer out there in terms of their payment. But one of the things that we've been noting, and I think is really interesting, is that we have a report called the Cox Automotive Credit Availability Report that we put out. And, lenders out there have been much more apt and wanting to lend more money to consumers for the past several months. That's a really good thing for anybody that wants to take out a loan, regardless of whether the rates are rising or falling. We've also seen, if you run new and used rates against something like the 10-year Treasury, which is a benchmark rate, you can measure the difference between those two. We've actually seen over the past couple of years that differential come down, where like a new prime customer rate is paying less than a point above really the 10-year Treasury. So all the things we've seen recently have supported that lenders are being a little bit more aggressive in getting out there and trying to capture the marketplace.
Yeah.
But to your point, with those higher benchmark rates coming, with things like the government debt and all, that will eventually start to impact consumer rates a little bit too.
Yeah, sure. We've seen average monthly payments stay pretty high. Are dealers starting to see consumers push back on those payments, or is demand still holding up? I mean, we're talking about the average payment, I think, is just under $800 a copy. And then I think 20% or thereabouts is over $1,000 a payment on average. Those numbers are staggering.
Yeah. It's there's I classify the new market as basically a luxury market. When the average new car price is $50,000 now, and it's been close to $50,000 for almost 2 years now.
I know.
Right? And
It's
every
incredible.
time we hit that mark, we fall off of it. It's almost like a ceiling that consumers are adjusting or whatever. But if we're going to stay there, then I'll have to stop classifying all new vehicles as luxury. There's a ultra luxury market out there too.
Yeah.
With that $80,000, $90,000 vehicle, and we sell a lot of those in the U.S. Specifically, those big SUVs, large pickups, heavy duties. All of that comes into it. But one of the things we've seen this year, which I think goes to your question, and it's really important, and we see it in our data. We saw it earlier in the year, where we started to see better wholesale valuation trends in 8, 9, 10-year-old vehicles, those really old vehicles.
Yeah.
And if you look at retail used list prices right now too, you're seeing some of the strongest year-over-year lifts in prices in those oldest units. And I think that's telling you, two things, and I'll riff on one of the things you guys said a little bit earlier. One is that consumers are looking for something affordable.
Yeah.
If they can get their hands on a $18,000 car,
Sure.
There's more competition in that marketplace. And another thing that is almost impossible to prove, but I think it matters. If you think about the technology that's in a 10-year-old car now, or a 9-year-old car, they have buttons, right? They have less sensors. They have things that a lot of consumers really want. I think there's a little bit more desirability for those things too. They can go and try to fix that car. They don't have to necessarily always take it to the shop to fix it. So it's so dynamic, the marketplace is. And,
it is.
And that's the cool thing of my job, is I get to see all this through the data and see what goes on.
Yeah, when you think about the average payment being almost $800 a copy, it begs the question, why isn't leasing back in a very, very big way? I mean, that would seem to me, if you're an OEM executive, you want to move iron, just come out with a really aggressive lease program, a subvented lease program, if it's got to be that, if that's got to be the case. But as you know, that can oftentimes roll a lot of cars. And I might add, by the way, there have been a number of OEMs that have come up with very aggressive lease programs. But would you agree, isn't that kind of a simple answer to this situation with high payments?
So I love that you are bringing this up. For the past couple of years, when I talk with a lot of people, I actually urge them to lease more vehicles out there. But the reason I do it is because, I look at the used car market, and off-lease supply is the #1 input into the used market.
Yeah.
Right. We're always bringing those cars back so that other people can buy used, the people that a lot of people can't buy new cars.
That's right.
The past couple of years, especially, leading up until the tax incentive on EVs went away, EV and plug-in hybrid leasing rates were really high.
Yeah.
They ended up over 50%.
That's right.
And they were actually supporting the entire new car market in terms of getting lease penetration to move a little bit more closer to back what was normal prior to the pandemic, which was about 32% new vehicle lease penetration. Now, over the past year, since we've done away with the new EV lease incentive, we have just started to see hybrid and ICE leasing trends pick up just a little bit.
Okay.
And leasing's expensive. It's expensive from the residual standpoint, and you're on the risk for that. You've also got the interest rate component of it too. But I do think it's time for the industry to lean into it. I think from a payment perspective, there's a lot of people that would really be interested in those units. And I can tell you, the used market will need those units in a few years.
I agree.
So, Jeremy, if you're a dealer watching all of this right now, what's the one number or indicator that you'd be watching most closely?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for me, I would just watch your sales trends. Like there's so many things in the economy that you could watch. You could watch GDP or personal income or all these different metrics on inflation, but they're too broad, really, to come down. So I would say, you focus on your traffic. One of the things that we've seen the past couple of years, and really since the pandemic, is some of the big holidays, especially around the summer, they're not maybe quite as important as they used to be, like what consumers are doing. I think that's also part of the wealth effect. There's a lot of people that, they're going away on a holiday instead of going to shop for vehicles. So pay attention to traffic, pay attention to sales trends, and pay attention to what's going on in the industry through so many different groups, and we are one of them for sure, out there reporting weekly on what's going on. And I love talking to dealers and consumers and everybody in the marketplace just to see what it is. But when it comes down to it, I watch the wholesale market and I watch the retail market every week.
Yeah.
And try to keep my head above water, because if I paid too much attention to the actual economic data, you just want to go stick your head in the sand right now.
Well, having said that, through all of this and some of the stuff that we've just been talking about, if dealers are still with us and they haven't jumped off the ledge yet, in all of this, what are some of the bright spots that you see from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I still see, I think the new car sales trends are pretty strong. And I think that's been really remarkable given everything that's been thrown at the economy and the consumer this year with gas prices and things like that. And dealers are doing it with, we don't even see that incentives have been that high, right? So I think that's good news for dealers out there. I know dealers would still like to see, more pricing power, and we measure all that as well. But we're still selling cars. There's still good consumer demand out there. It may not be that that consumer demand is uniform across the United States, right? There's definitely pockets of the country that are likely doing a lot stronger than other pieces of it. But I still see the demand being pretty good. And if you think just like big picture for the economy through the end of this year and next year, you know, a lot of things have been supported by AI spending, AI infrastructure. We hear about that. We see it being used in dealerships all the time.
Right.
But the planning on the spending for that is still, you know, pretty strong. And unemployment is pretty low. And there's some different reasons unemployment's low. But you have like GDP growth that is positive. You have low unemployment, so a lot of people are getting their paychecks. You know, there's reason to feel, you know, I say cautiously optimistic going into the end of this year and next year, even through a lot of the things, like I said, you know, that have been kind of negative. You can't write off everything, and that's why it makes so much. It's so important to just focus on these details all the time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, that's for sure. I think we've got a comment from one of our viewers that wanted to. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, for dealers trying to plan the rest of 2026, what economic risk do you think is being underestimated right now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We've got very smart viewers. That's why we, you know.
Yeah. Putting me on my toes. You know, I mean, there are some real risks with some of the debt levels and interest rates. You know, and we try to look past that and hope that, you know, everything will pan itself out. One of the things that's, you know, not to get like too wonky on everybody here, but when we have a new chairman of the Federal Reserve, Kevin Warsh,
right?
And Kevin Warsh has pulled back on what he wants to tell markets, right? He's giving them less information, and you can read all about that as you Google it. It's out there.
Sure.
Well, one of the things that does is it is going to increase the risk premium in the marketplace itself, right? Because there's not as much information, and that is part of the reason we are seeing these interest rates rise right now.
Okay.
So you do have that going on in conjunction with the level and amount of debt we are issuing, and that bond yields across the world are higher too. You know, there are some things that could happen and you know, drag the economy down a little bit that might be on the horizon. We hope not. You know, but like the question was about one of the things that being underestimated, and it's really, I think, some of these ramifications from these big things happening in the economy and in the world that if they unravel, they could get pretty bad. Yeah. But you know, that was to my other point. I don't. That's something we need to be aware of. But when we look at what the data that's happening at the wholesale markets and the retail markets, you know, we don't see it, at least right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeremy, Rob, thank you so much for all your great insight. I love how we were bringing some questions to you that seemed like they could have gone a really negative direction, but you have a great spin on things and a great eye on the market right now. So we really appreciate everything.
Yes, thank you so much, Jeremy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks.
It was good.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Good. Yeah, love having him on. Every time he's on, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And it really is amazing, though, when you think about how many vehicles are being sold. New car, 16.4 million SAR, and then on the used car side, probably another 30, 40 million used cars in the country, both private as well as dealerships. It just everybody's in love with their automobile in America, right? Yeah. They might do away with other things. Maybe they don't get the boat or the RV. Maybe they don't go on the vacation, but they got to have a nice car.
That's right.
It really is amazing. Yeah. I spoke to a Ford dealer recently, and he said, I can't get enough Ford F-150s, large volume store. You know, a Ford F-150 is now like $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and he can't keep enough of them in the showroom.
That's good.
It really is. It's good news. It really is, for sure. Even though there's $40 trillion in debt now with the country.
But hey, people are still buying cars.
Doesn't scare anybody. That's right.
It is the good news.
No question about it.
And the way people shop for cars is changing, and dealers are having to change with them.
That's right. From selling vehicles through Amazon Autos to investing in new dealership facilities and taking more control of customer data, Rohrman Automotive Group has been making some big moves.
And just yesterday, the group celebrated the grand opening of its new Gurnee Hyundai store in Illinois. Joining us live is Ryan Rohrman, the CEO of Rohrman Automotive Group. He's a third-generation leader of one of the largest family-owned automotive groups in the U.S., representing 20 franchises across 4 markets. Ryan, It's great to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I love what you guys do and look forward to having a conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. Congratulations, by the way, on yesterday's grand opening of Gurney Hyundai there in Illinois.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had a great turnout. We had a couple Bears players show up, and we hosted a live podcast of Take the North, which is a pretty big, if you're into the Bears, Chicago Bears, it's a huge podcast in Chicago. So we had a live thing there. We probably had 300 or 400 people show up. So
that's great.
Super fun event. We had food trucks and like jumpy houses. So it was probably our last big grand opening of this year. So we've had a few, but that was a good way to like end the season.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, what do you want a customer to experience the moment they walk through the door that maybe they didn't experience before?
You know, I think customer experience is like paramount to everything that we do now. And I think so much of it is picking up where they left off instead of starting them over. I think that a very common practice in many dealerships is we have a system that we put every customer through every time. You know, it goes back to that mentality of like meet and greet, test drive. And the reality is, not all customers want that today. Many customers, you know, with the tech stacks that we have, they can get all the way down the funnel to the point of buying the car. Even, you know, you mentioned how our partnership with Amazon Autos, we are selling cars on Amazon, and one of the last questions that they ask the customer is, do you want a walkthrough of your car, or do you just want to be handed the keys?
Interesting.
Yeah, so many customers, they're just picking, just give me the keys, and that's what they want. So I think, you know, really customizing every experience that to meet the customer where they are. So where did they leave off? And then not forcing them into our, you know, 2-hour process of selling a car. Like, we can sell a car in 30 minutes if they don't want to test drive, if they don't want to. Many customers are like, I know what I want, I just want to get through the office. We can do that really fast. And so I think it's changing our mentality of doing that and offering that every single time that we are selling a car.
Yeah, that's great. It's still, time is still the number one, as you know, the number one complaint that consumers have when it comes to buying a car. It's not even price. I mean, they're concerned about price, but it's not the number one thing. But you talk to most consumers and they'll say, why does it take so long to buy a car? This just doesn't make sense. And here we are in 2026 and we see companies like Carvana out there. We can have it delivered right to your front door. This is an ad for Carvana, so you can hold your emails. But, you know, this is a huge opportunity. What does the new store say about where Rohrman Automotive Group is headed?
You know, it's a great question. I think that, you know, right now you mentioned this too in the intro, like we've been very bullish in our in what we're doing with data right now with, you know, CDP and, you know, we have a Snowflake instance. These are all very unique things inside of automotive. But I say that because it's taking what's coming in form of, you know, different forms of AI, and it's integrating it into your system where the mundane tasks are just being poorly done. And so it's because they do it, when I say they, like the agents that we're building, they do it perfectly every time. They don't call in sick, so on and so forth. It's just a better way.
Yeah.
But you cannot replace the human experience.
Right.
And so I think that it's just teeing all of it up. If we can get the consumer real-time data of whatever they want, I mean, we can answer their questions so well today with AI, to the point of they don't need a text or an email from us. They're getting that through our agents, but what they really want is, can you satisfy my questions to the point of when I'm ready to come into the store, I just want the process to be enjoyable, fast and easy. And I think we're creating dealerships today that I think play into that. They're like, even the store last night, there's very few offices. We don't have cubicles. There are tables that are sporadically throughout the showroom. There's no power to them because we don't need power to them. If we want to make phone calls, we have a place for that where we have phone stations. customers don't go back there. So I think it's just reinventing how consumers interact when it comes time to have a relationship and to purchase that car. It's true with service as well. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
So like you said, time is everything. It's the most valuable asset we have.
Yeah.
And we don't want to waste it, and we don't want to waste our customers' time either.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me just ask this real quick question. How important is a facility today? It was for a long time that it was really more about the deal and getting the customer in the car for the best price and a great website and what have you. But then there was a time they were kind of pushing back on these multi-million-dollar facilities that the OEMs were requiring them to build. From your perspective, how important is a new store like you've just completed there in the overall scheme of things?
I think people still drive the business at the end of the day. So, I mean, you can have a beautiful store with not great people and really bad processes, and you're not going to see any growth. So if you have really good people and you have really good processes, the store just makes it better.
Yeah.
So I do think the store matters. No one wants to buy. I mean, these cars are extremely expensive anymore. You're just talking about F-150s, how they're so expensive. If you're going to buy an $80,000, $100,000 truck, what type of atmosphere do you want to do that in? I do think it helps. If you think of other retail shops that you buy things in, the price normally matches the experience and the decoration that is around you. I do think the building really matters when it comes to your service experience. I do think that's paramount. The old school service drives, they're dark and dingy. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the new Honda image. So we've just completed 3 Honda, almost 2 ground ups and 1 total overhaul. The way they integrate the service drive in the customer waiting area, that's brand new. I mean, there's no differentiation really. Like, you're in the drive service area all at the same time. It's open, it's airy, it's convenient. So I think that service really matters, even down to the doors. Like on the new Honda image, all our garage doors, they're perfectly see-through. So even for the consumer, when they're pulling up, they can see in the drive if the door's down.
Yeah, that's great. Great idea.
I think it's cool. I have a Honda store on my right, and I can look from here and see completely through the shop because the doors are, I don't know. So even for the techs, they're getting natural sunlight through the doors, they're getting it through. So I do think that the building matters a lot when it comes to service and our retention and whatnot, but good people, good process outweighs a good building.
Sure.
I think that's always going to be true.
What would Bob Rorman think of the new facility?
You would love it. I mean, my grandfather, he loved building big stores. So, he built at the time, 2015, the largest Lexus dealership in the country. And then, and like 3 years ago, we opened the largest Honda store in the country. Earlier this spring, we did a grand opening at Schaumburg Kia. We are like square feet away from being the largest Kia store in the country. So he likes these big buildings. The Hyundai store is not a record, but it's a beautiful store. And he liked the nice facilities.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He would really.
I had the pleasure of meeting him, and man, what a legend! Just an incredible guy. Yeah.
I'm sure he would be very proud of the progressive moves that you're making. One of them including Amazon Autos that you have joined. What made you want to get involved with that early?
I was back and forth on it when I first saw it because when I talk about big data and like what we're trying to do, the whole point of that is to get people onto my website so that I can control the experience and really cater towards them. And Amazon is the opposite of that, but it's when it comes to platforms, I mean, what is a bigger platform? Maybe Facebook, where they have prime users. And so as a marketplace, I don't think we can fight it. And so it was one of those things where I was talking with one of the Amazon, one of their higher ups, and they're like, we don't need to make money. We're going to make it work. And when I heard that strategy, it just kind of like hit me. I was like, you know what, you're right. You've done this in other industries already. You did it with food. You did it with books. You did it, I mean, like, now you buy everything on Amazon, and they potentially didn't make money when they first entered every single market they interrupted, but then they turn it into monopoly almost. So I was like, you know what? I want to get on the ground level of this. Nice. And partner with them. And the nice thing is they don't know auto, and they're not ashamed to say that. So the early dealers in it, we get a lot of say on like how we get to build this thing out with them. So, you know, we're trying to help them where we get some benefit, but you know, they have an end result goal that they want the experience to almost be like 3 clicks and you can buy a car. And that's not like reserved. It's like, if you're financing it, it's done. And they basically have that done already. So we potentially have something to learn from them on how they made that buying experience so seamlessly quick and easy. And consumers like it.
Nice. So what have you learned about the modern car buyer since you started selling through Amazon?
I think that, you know, it's still a pretty low percentage, but people know what they want. They don't feel the need to test drive it. They don't see the need to even see it. And it's not just on new cars. I mean, this is true on some used cars as well. They want it. They literally, it's almost like they don't want to have a relationship at all with anyone in the store. They want it where they can click 4 times at 2 in the morning, and they'll show up at 10 a.m. for 15 minutes, take their keys and say thank you and leave.
Nice.
Like, that's the modern car buyer. That's not everyone, but that's a lot of people. That's the experience that they want. They just want it to be fast, easy. I don't feel the need to go back and forth. I just want it to be, you know, it fits my lifestyle. If I'm already buying things on Amazon, now I can buy more things that I need to buy on Amazon. So I think, as an example, that's kind of the marketplace that they're building out.
Yeah. So we can change gears here for a minute. You've also spent a lot of time and money cleaning up your own data and owning that consumer data. What was was there an aha moment that made you realize that this was really worth the investment?
You know, there was a couple years ago when I first heard the term CDP, and I was like, what is a CDP? And a customer data platform. And it took me probably like 30 days to figure out what a CDP was, because everyone claimed to be a CDP. There's a lot of companies inside of auto and outside of auto that are claiming to be CDPs today that I would say they're misleading folks. So once I figured that out, I had the aha moment of the automation inside of what marketing can be is what the auto industry is missing. The funny thing is, it's not new. This is not new technology by any means. It's new to automotive. CDPs and automation have been around for a decade, maybe plus now at this point. One of the things that I found inside of this whole journey is unique to automotive. The automotive industry is we have something called a DMS, right? And the problem with the DMS is you can't write back to it. So data in, data stays. It never changes, which means your data is very dirty. And so every single time, even old school marketing, where, you know, we let a direct mail company come in and we give them access to some of our information, I found that 50% of my data was bad. You know, so, and that's not because we are bad.
Yes.
That is a standard, not practice, but that's sized over all database companies that you can't enhance, enrich, and write back into to make the data clean. Yeah. So we just kept putting more data on top of it, whether it's bad email addresses, whether the customer doesn't own that car anymore, whether they don't live at that address any longer. And so part of it was I'm spending dollars and getting poor return because half of the people I'm trying to market to aren't even getting the message that they want or they should receive. So once I figured out that that was really the end result of, if I can get 100% of the people I want to market to, the right message at the right time, will I be more successful? And I can tell you the answer is resoundingly yes. It works, and it works very well.
Yeah.
And it's been a lift. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I found in really launching our whole tech stack is that inside of the auto industry, we're very used to signing a contract with a company and it's live in 30 days.
Yeah.
That's not true with this. I mean, on our contract, it said it'd take us up to 18 months to launch this. We did it in 9, which they were like surprised that we did it that fast. But, you know, like that's new. We're not used to that. But once you lift it, now it's fully automated. So it's marketing real time to micro audiences. And we know that the right person at the right time is getting the right message.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
You're invested in your stores, technology, and data. When you look ahead, what's the next big change you think dealers need to be ready for?
I think how AI, I think there's 2 really big things. I think AI and how it's going to disrupt for some or enhance for others your business. I think that, you know, embracing it early, it's changing so rapidly. I have multiple people that work for us that their sole job is AI and automation. And we keep asking ourselves the question, what are the mundane tasks inside of automotive? Because anything that's mundane, it's happening without much thought, we can replace it with an agent, and they're very simple and cheap to build. And that agent will do the job better than someone who's burnt out because it's such a repetitive task.
Yeah.
And then but I think that you're going to see a really big gap over the next 2 or 3, 5 years of dealers that are forward thinking and dealers that are using AI as a prompt agent. You know, if you're still using chat or Claude or whatever, and you're just using it for prompting things, like it's all moved past that. I mean, you can still do that, but
right.
We're past that already. Like it's already doing things. Like we see other people's agents that they built trying to buy cars on our websites. We can see it happening. So like customers are building their own agents to shop for them. So
Crazy.
I don't know. So I think what you're going to see is it's going to be the people who embrace it and make their business model around how can it make the experience better for the consumer.
Yeah.
And then the people who fight it and to say, this is what we're going to do. This is the way it's always been. The car business never changes. And we're just going to hold fast to this.
That's right.
Like, yep.
That's right. No question.
Unfortunately, I mean, I know dealers that have that mindset. And I think it's unfortunate because I think it's going to be a really steep mountain to climb because it's an exponential growth type of system.
It is.
Once your AI is going, it's not growing at 10% a day. It grows exponentially.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at the bottom of the mountain and you're like, how do I get there? Like, oh man, I can tell you the story, but it's going to take you a long time at this point to get there.
That's right.
It's very exciting right now.
Yeah.
This whole AI thing.
That's right. That's right. No question about it.
I think we have a comment from one of our viewers.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes, we do. So what's one thing you're doing today that you think every dealer should be doing?
So I'm going to go for, I could give you a lot on that one. I'm going to go down the route of service. I think that new car franchise dealers have to start looking at our service in a way of conquest versus retention.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to retain our customer base. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stats and they're scary, you can choose 70 or 60. I don't care which one, but it's in that range. 70 to 60% of every car on the road today is servicing their cars at independent lots.
Yep.
That scares me.
Yeah.
As a franchise dealer. So the question is, how's your CPRO growth doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know service is growing, but why is it growing? It's growing because door rates are climbing at historical highs. And every manufacturer is struggling with warranty, and they're paying us. So we're growing because of warranty and door rates.
Yeah.
but are you actually growing because your CPRO count is going up?
Right.
Because CPRO count to me is almost like inflation. If you're growing 5 or 6 or 7% annually, you're not
You're not growing. Right.
You're not growing. You're actually shrinking. And I don't have that percentage, but I know it's north of 10%. If you're not seeing north of 10% CPRO growth, I would say, what is wrong with your conquest strategy? And I think that as a dealer body, we need to really get aggressive at getting and retaining the cars on the road today.
That's right. And it's been a tough road to hoe for dealers over the years to convince those customers that no, I mean, you're sitting in this multi-million-dollar beautiful showroom. That sometimes equates in the dealer's mind as, oh, it's going to cost me more money. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost me more money. When in reality, all of the study shows that it actually doesn't cost more money to have the vehicle serviced at a dealership, franchise dealer, and you're getting a certified technician that puts, their wrench on your $80,000 vehicle, on that SUV. I mean, but somehow we've got to find out a way to convey that to the consumers in your market and obviously every dealer's market, that it's not cheaper, it's not faster. You can have it done right there at the dealership that you purchased that car from, right?
I completely agree. One of my first jobs in automotive, I changed oil in a Spur gas station for 2 years. And I had 3 hours of training. A Pennzoil rep came in, and I blew one car up. But I can tell you, when you want me as an 18-year-old changing oil in your car, or a certified technician that actually has they have a certification.
Yeah.
And the price is the same.
Yeah.
If it takes 15 minutes longer, I mean, really?
Yeah.
So we launched something March 1st, and we call it our $50 oil change. And so our marketing behind it is it's $50. It's all makes our models. There is an asterisk on there. We don't do diesels, and we don't have any German brands, so we don't do German cars.
Yeah.
It's $50.
Yeah, and it's a great deal.
It's $50.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're seeing a 17% increase on CPRO across the 20 rooftops.
Yeah.
Many of those stores, if they're leaning into it heavier, they're in the 20s or greater. So, we need to keep pushing that forward. I think that's going to be a huge, where's your future used cars coming from? Your service drive. Where's your future customers coming from? Your service drive. If we have such a big opportunity as a dealer body to figure out how to get more cars into the drive. And I think that's going to be a huge thing that we have to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan Rohrman, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This has been a real pleasure. I know that our viewers are going to get a lot out of your visit with us, so thank you so much. Congratulations on the new store and all that you've got going on in the group. It's been very exciting to watch.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, thanks so much. Wow, what a guy. We need more Ryans in the industry. You know what I mean? He's forward thinking. He knows what's going on.
Really, so progressive. He's doing
no question.
Great.
And the showroom, we were showing video of it. It's incredible. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why they're so successful.
Yep.
Well,
that
wraps up our show, but I would like to mention the Podium webinar that we have coming up.
Yep.
Don't miss this webinar with Podium. Cheap AI is expensive. Why good AI beats bad AI every time. This is happening Wednesday, September 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be followed by Q&A. This is a live webinar. You can register at cbtnews.com.
Also want to mention the 40 Under 40. Quick reminder, the nominations are still open for the 40 Under 40 Awards here at CBT News, our 4th year doing this. It's sponsored by the one and only Force Marketing, so we're excited about that. You can see the award right there. It is a very nice one, but if you know somebody in the industry that you'd like to nominate, please do that. You can do it right online at cbtnews.com, or if you'd like to nominate yourself and you think you're an outstanding individual and you've got a lot to bring to the automotive table, we want to see your nomination in there too. So that's it. So thank you so much for joining us on today's show. We've been just very excited about CBT Live here at CBT News. And we'll see you
right back here tomorrow.
Absolutely.
At noon.
That's right. And by the way, be sure to follow us on social media and also sign up for our free newsletter.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to miss any great content from CBT News. So
that's right.
Be sure to do that. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, Ryan.